I was all set up to go, and it suddenly died on me. So we're a little bit late. I think we're a minute late starting. Apologies for that. We're in the shop, and we're here with the legend, who is Trevor Rooney. Let's turn the camera around so you can see him. So he's not seeing him at the moment. There we go. So Trevor and Tony, over to you guys.
Good evening.
Could somebody that's watching just give us a thumbs up to say that you can hear us? Andy Tilsley, if you can hear us, can you say you can hear us? Or
Andy.
yeah, just so we make sure we've got it. Um, I'm going to assume that you can hear me unless someone says I can't see, I can't hear anything, in which case we'll have to turn it off and turn it back on again. Right, now, one of the things about tonight is that I'm going to endeavour to keep this to an hour. Because last week it went on for nearly 2 hours and it was just too long. So, as I say, if I can, I'm going to keep it to an hour. So, if you've got questions, please don't save them to the end, otherwise you won't get to ask them. And I will give you a cue about 10 to 8 that we're coming towards the end. So, yeah, jump in with your questions then if you haven't asked them already. So, I've got a quick question to start us all the ball rolling, and that is to Trevor. When did you start fishing, Trev?
Well, I was 13, 14, and walking around Eastbourne Pier with my mum, my dad, brother and sister. And it was late November, early December. It was cold, it was winter. In those days, the anglers could fish along the side of the piers, not just the landing stage on the end. And as we wandered around, these guys were putting on worms and casting out. I'd never seen it before. I'd never seen fishing before. I was 13 or 14. These guys were fishing, and it appealed to me. I don't know why. Hunting instinct, what the mystery of what's in the sea, I don't know. I said to my brother, I said, "Do you fancy ever going to this?" Brother Neville, he's 2 years younger than me, totally disinterested. We carried on round the pier, and by the end of it, I just had to get into it. And as we left the pier, I said, "Mum," I said, "Look, this fisherman, I'd like to have a go at that. And Christmas soon, could we sort something out, you know?" Unbeknown to me, the following Sunday, Mum went on the pier and she met a guy, a slightly elder gentleman who looked as if he knew what he was doing, with a kindly disposition. And she said, "Look, I've got a son, he's 13, 14, and he'd love to take out fishing. Doesn't know where to start." There were 2 tackle shops in the town at the time, but Mum wouldn't have a clue where they were, you know. So she asked this guy if he could help out. And she chatted to him 5 minutes. He said, "Come on next Sunday and I'll have something sorted out." This is all unbeknown to me. The following Sunday, she goes back on the pier, and this chap who I'd never met, he got a rod and a little reel and a bag of bits, leads and line and stuff, you know. And then Christmas was about 3 weeks later, and then I got my gift, my rod and my reel, and I was made up with life, you know.
Excellent. And do you remember his name?
No, I never met the chap.
Oh, okay.
It was Christmas Day or Boxing Day, and I insisted. Mum took me on the pier. I think you had to be accompanied by an adult when you were 16 in those days. Yeah. And I think I dragged her on it, probably Boxing Day. And no, you can't go on the pier, Trevor, don't be silly. We got people coming over for dinner, you know. But I dragged her on there. We got to the end of the pier. There's 2 old boys. I remember it to this day. And I went in the corner, quiet corner, and set this rod up. I couldn't cast out. It was a little metal rod he'd made up. And so I lowered it down. I got some worms out of the machine at the Bob Clark's tackle. You get these little salted things out of the machine on the wall. I cycled down, got those, got back, went on the pier with Mum. She's talking to these old gents. "We got to go home, so I got to go home, you know. Got people coming over for dinner." So after about an hour, I thought, okay. So I wound up, and as I wound up, I felt a little tug. And I pulled this thing over, and there's a little fish on there. Didn't know what it was. And the old boy said, "It's a bass, son. It's a bass, son."
So your first fish was a bass?
Bass was the first fish. 8 inches long, probably weighed about 3 ounces, this thing, you know. But I was over the moon, hooked on fishing for life from that moment on.
You lived near the pier, if I remember, didn't you?
I was 10 or 15
Ball Street,
minute walk from Eastbourne
So
Pier.
not far away.
Parents had a little guest house there.
Oh,
so
right, okay.
You could walk to the pier, you know.
Yeah, fantastic.
So that was how I started fishing.
And did you stick with the sea fishing, or did you try?
I stuck with sea fishing. I was starting to go on the pier. By this time, I'd started Cavendish Secondary School as an 11-year-old. First day at school, I met Tony, and by the end of the first day, we were mates. He, unbeknown to me, had the fishing bug really installed into him. His father was an angler. His brother-in-law, Norman Message, brilliant local angler, he was taking Tony fishing in a boat. So after a couple of months, we concurred that we go on the pier together. So for the following winter and the winter after that, we were going on the pier every Saturday morning, 2 of us fishing. And come the summer, we were cycling out and fishing little ponds. We went to West End Pond, Rickney. We went to the Swan Lake Pond beyond the Swan Cafe. We was getting bream and tench, only £2, £3 carp, £2 tench. We thought they were monsters. And so we were fishing together. And after a year or two at that, we still didn't have a car. We were still teenagers, and deceased now sadly. But Carol was Tony's sister. She had I think a boyfriend up in Tunbridge Wells somewhere. And on a Friday evening, we used to pile into a mini, me and Tony, and with a loaf of bread each and one rod, and she'd just drop us off at Halsham Common Pond, about 8 miles north of Eastbourne. And she'd leave us there the night, and she'd come back next morning, bless her, about 10 o'clock, gather us up and take us back to Eastbourne. So we fished the Common Pond for carp.
And then we went to Piltdown, didn't we? She dropped us at Piltdown Pond, right out.
Yeah, and then
picks up next morning. Me and Trevor used to have bread fights. We didn't catch any fish, threw bread at each other.
Well, Piltdown Pond is about 2 miles north of Uckfield, about 22 miles from Eastbourne, and bless her, Carol used to drop us over there. We used to fish there all night, bread fights. Well, in the morning, we was waiting. The lake went dead about 7 o'clock. Carol would pick us up about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. The sun was coming up, it was dead quiet, and you were sort of sleepy. We didn't have buzzers, we had to sit up all night waiting for the bobbins to go up. And all of a sudden, the crust of bread was hit on the side of it. And I looked round, it was him. He's so bored, he's pulling off. He's retaliation, the crust goes back. Bread fights. Bread fights.
Excellent.
Happy days. Happy days.
So, I mean, I've got a question here for Andy Cole, and he's aimed it at Tony, but I'm going to ask you the question first, Trevor. What's your biggest achievement in fishing?
Oh, golly. Andy, sort of a travel achievement, bragging, I suppose. The South Coast Beach Championship. It's not such a monstrous match now. None of them are. They're sort of 50, 60 figures. Back in the day, 15, 20 years ago, it was a massive match. You know? People travel all over the southeast to fish it. Probably 150 odd anglers in those days, you know. And I've won that on 3 occasions. And I missed it quite a few times because it was always about the 3rd week in November. And when I was in the England squad for a few years, the World Championships was always about the 3rd week in November. So I actually missed it for 4 or 5 years. I might have got lucky again, you know, but to win that 3 times in good company, I'm very pleased with that. That was great. That's good, you know. Good memories.
So, name some of the top Charlies from back then who would have been fishing that match.
Well, there was Steve Allmark, Alan Yates, Peter Rowan, Chris Clark from down west. I think he fished it a couple of times in the early days, you know. But good Eastbourne anglers, Billy Plumstead,
So Bill,
Joe's father,
Neil McKellar.
Neil McKellar, he's
Good
fished
one.
it. Yeah,
Yeah,
he won it.
East
He
Coast.
won it once. And of course you got the East Coast guys from sort of Lowestoft, Norwich way, and Ipswich. Big casters. They used to come down, and they was always hard to
So
beat.
Paul Kerry?
Paul, I don't think Paul ever fished the South
Didn't do
Coast
a lot of
Beach.
match. He done quite a bit of match fishing, but he wasn't
Yeah.
like, there was people like Richard Oldgate.
All right,
They're a bit special, some of them, and Dave Wright was brilliant. He was
Yeah.
second to none.
Yeah.
He was almost like a professional, and he was so good. I watched him one day in the All England, and everybody cast out. It was about 13 on a beach. In them days, it was just cannibalism, you know what I mean? And he waited, and everyone got all tangled up, and he went whoosh. He was 20 yards behind us, and he pulled in a cod, and then another cod, and then another cod, sheer distance and good angling. And these people were just all fumbling about, untangling each other. He's won the All England. It was amazing. He was second to Alan Yates, if not better, in my day. I reckon he was number 1, really,
Okay.
on his day. You know,
Yeah.
he won everything.
The East Coast guys tended to be the best casters in the country back in the 80s.
Well, they have to on the East Coast, don't
Yeah, so shallow, the North Sea.
Yeah.
They don't catch much inside as we do. And because of their progress and winning of matches, it kind of drew everybody's casting ability up. And people from Eastbourne that didn't do pendulum were going to fields and learning how to do this pendulum, this magical pendulum cast. You know. And as time's gone by, we've got a little bit better at ourselves at distance fishing, which is important.
And backcasting as well. Backcasting was an East Coast thing, wasn't
That
it?
was massive
Yeah.
on the East Coast, and it was
Brilliant.
very popular. And in rough conditions, they could put a 7 or 8 ounce weight out, and there weren't so many bait flips used. A lot of it was flapping rigs back in the 70s and early 80s. And backcast with a big lead, it would tow 3 good lugworm baits out, good 150 yards. Yet very effective method. Less so used now. Except for local Joe, he's a bit of an exponent, but yeah, great method, and it's done. terrific.
Yeah, I mean, I must learn how to do it actually because I've got to improve my casting somehow. So Andy's original question was to Tony. So
Yeah.
Tony, what's your biggest
Well,
achievement?
it's got to be. I get a bit of stick for this, but at the end of the day, it takes two to tango, and I struck all the fish. In 2004, I took a break because my wife passed away for 11 years, and I went playing about fishing, if you know what I mean. I took a break, and then I went with Michael Hinson, and we went to the Carp World Championship,
Mm-hmm.
and there was over 350 people,
Mm.
and we won it.
Okay.
And we not only won it really well because we could both cast a long way.
Mm.
And people say, oh well, Tony went along, mixed the business. Tony just went along. It wasn't like that. We fished a lot, and he had a bad back, and I struck every fish, and we had 11, and then I caught one on my own because I always went. Mick always took the hot spot, and I just scratched out what I could. But most of the time, Mick could not be there. He's always walking away, and I'd pull the fish in. Anyway, I had struck every fish. Then Mick would come out because he had a bad back.
Yeah.
I'd get it almost to the net. I'd give him the rod because it was pairs, you know, and then I would land the fish. And it was so methodical, and we just annihilated everybody without being big-headed. And then I got on the plane and went to Gambia a week later, and Alan Yates was on there, and he kept going to my wife, look at him, and I couldn't understand what he's on about. And he went, no one's going to beat him this week. Gambia was a big match, it's a World Beach Championship thing, and all the top Charlies were there, Saul Page, all of them. And I just, not being rude, I just couldn't go wrong. And on the last day, probably my best moment in fishing ever, I've got Richard and Alan, they're the top notch, right? And I'm in the middle, and first of all, Richard caught a fish, then Alan caught a fish, then I caught 10. I just couldn't believe it. I could not go wrong. And Alan, would, as I left the beach, he was going to snap his rod off, his going mental. But the times he hammered me, you know, but every dog has his day, what I say earlier on. That's kind of my claim to fame because, and then I came back into fishing and I won quite a lot after the Gambia.
Do you think that because your tail was up because of the carp competition, that you were kind of, it was like a confidence thing, you just couldn't go wrong?
I think people think I'm mad if I say this, but I'll tell you now, confidence is massive. You know, I sometimes moan because people come down, they stand next to me, and I want to talk to everyone. You know, my career's finished. You know, as far as I'm concerned, I love going fishing. I'm never going to be like I was. I'm too old. I like to other people who enjoy the fishing. And what you do is you drift off. Even Trevor said it last week. You drift off, don't you? You kind of need to focus. If you know what I mean. And I sometimes go when the soul's around, and I'm like, I'm going to get a soul. I'm going to get a soul.
And you get one.
And then you think you're going mad because the rod goes over slack lines, you get a soul. But also, remember, I know there's going to be souls there. So you have got a little bit of an inset into it. But
so
as you say,
it's
a lot, I think confidence is massive. People like Darren Bond, he's a brilliant angler, but he's mega confident. When he gets there, he thinks he's won before he starts, you know?
So there's a sixth sense kind of, but really it's not a sixth sense. It's based on knowledge, ability,
Trevor, too,
belief.
There's a lot in the head, isn't there?
And if you
preparation.
If you get successful, you get more success. Again, the confidence thing. Look at top anglers; they're not cocky, but they have a slightly more of a swagger.
That's right.
Than the also range. You know, they're confident because 3 nights before they've framed in a competition, they've gone home with some cash, and now they're on the Sunday Open. And their tail's up, and they're going to cast an extra few yards. They're going to extra prepare with their baits and rigs because they're confident. They're not just making up the numbers. Confidence is massive.
Trevor always says about, doesn't he? You say to me, we said it last week, but you said if I was organised, I'd have been phenomenal. But I'm not. It's just the way I am. Whereas Trevor will turn up, everything's perfect, all the lines perfect, the rigs, everything, right? Whereas I'm like, throw it in there, I'm going tomorrow. And unfortunately, that's, you know, I think I'd have been a bit more organised if it weren't for the shop. You know, you've got 2 things to think about. Everyone's bait, everyone's clocking in and, you know, drawing their pegs. And there's a lot of hassle in it.
I don't know how you do it, too.
And the lad said, once you start running comps, you won't do that good.
He has more going through his head than 10 people.
But I'm still competitive. But, you know, I'm not worried now. Everyone says I'm moaning because I'm losing and all that. I'm not worried if I lose. I want to win. I'm going there trying to win, don't get me wrong. But if I come halfway down, it's not the end of the world. I used to go and go mental if I didn't win.
He picks up his share of umbrellas, Chris.
Yeah.
He does all right, you know. He does well.
But it's all a lot of it's preparation. I'd say, Trevor.
Bait's massive, rigs massive.
Yeah.
Turn up with one dodgy reel and it goes wrong on the first cast. You're not going to, you know, the match angler, he'll have good bait, he'll have 2 or 3 reels match ready and absolutely ready, you know. And he's got plenty of spare weights in case it's rougher or the tide's running and he don't want to get caught in the grot. Preparation, of course.
And you said it when we did that. We were doing a series of videos about top tips from top anglers. That's exactly what you said, wasn't it? You need to have more than one reel set up.
You so do. You've got a couple of rods. It's easier to bust an eye, as I said before. Reels can go horribly wrong, you know. And you can't have too many rods and reels really. Just
I think Joe's got something like 5 top notch. Guy was in his bag.
He has.
You know, one out,
Yeah.
next one out. You don't use them, but they're there. And I remember when we were fishing, always I had 4 multipliers minimum because you get some hassle and you've got to deal with it quickly.
You've got a couple of spare reels or a couple of spare spools with a fixed spool. Even if you don't want to use them, you want number 1 reel to do the job for those 4 or 5 hours. But the feeling that they're there in the box, that induces confidence. You think if I get a problem here, within 3 minutes I can have a fresh.
Yeah. I mean, when I'm filming, I normally carry 2 cameras. I always have one around my neck. I'm not using it, but it's a backup. Something goes wrong, put it straight on. There's a couple of people saying that the sound is a bit low. Turn your volume up. I'm using a phone, so I'm a bit limited. I have moved it a little bit closer, so hopefully you can hear a bit better. But it is all on a phone, so I'm afraid that is the constraint. If it really is too faint, well, I don't know. We'll see what we can do.
I can be a bit quiet.
No, I don't see that shelf. It picks up what it does.
All that rain standing outside.
Somebody watched a Liam Daigle film today, demonstrated with Trevor and Tony, demonstrating a C-Max shelter for £59. Tony looks about 25. He still sells them for £59.
That is an old one.
Yeah.
He's still trying to set it up.
Yeah. That was with Seb Shelton, I believe, and Seb Shelton was the drummer for Dex's Midnight Runners.
Oh, was he?
And we went up there and he had it was like unique, he had a quad bike. That was something else, you know.
Yeah.
I think Liam comes along on the quad bike.
He comes on the quad bike,
and that's
right.
Seb Shelton's from
oh, right, okay.
Dex's Midnight Runners. And I think they've gone on tour again, to be honest with you, or something. Because Kevin Rowland disappeared, and now he's come back after about 20 years, 25 years. I think they're touring again.
They retour. It's easy money. People know them. They sell tickets. They can, bulk up the old bank balances.
See, now you talk about casting. Them fish there, them cod, they were about 60 yards out in the gutter. And if you went further, you didn't catch any.
No.
It's amazing. 60, 70, 50, 60 yards.
Orford Nest,
That's,
great venue.
The Dirty Wall, isn't it? Is it the Dirty Wall?
You start at the Dirty Wall.
That's it. And then you
Orford Nest is about 3 miles long.
Because people used to get a boat to there. We had a massive walk. That was, especially with an hangover.
It's like a mini Dungeness almost. And,
or Chesil's. Chesil's like that as well.
Billy was on that one. Joe's father was on that one. Billy.
And Norman was there. Tony's
brother-in-law. He's 80 now.
Yeah. Someone came up, and I've not got the name. I should have made notes really. Said that he used to fish with Billy. He's his cousin. Hasn't seen him for 20 odd years.
Who fished with Billy?
Well, someone had said he used to fish with Billy. It's Joe Plumstead, Billy's son. I used to fish with Billy many years ago. I'm his cousin.
Oh, well, probably so. We've all got cousins, haven't we?
Yeah. So I'm sorry if I haven't got your name there. If you're on here, pipe back up and get your name. So good to see if Trevor knows you. Right, this question for you from Paul Williams. Evening, guys. Would you recommend either a finger stall or a casting cannon? And if using a cannon, does the timing become earlier or later on release?
True.
Yeah.
I don't use
casting glove or a finger stall, they work, and you must use it, mono or braid, because it so protects your finger. On release, it's not so instant and as clean as a cannon. A cannon is a much cleaner release. Once you get used to it, a few casts, you still get used to it. Cannon was designed to go under the rod, but it's a bit fiddly. And with the modern fixed ball reels, they have a biggish bail arm, and the two can touch, which is no good at all. What one or two of us have done, and I've done it for about 4 or 5 years, is put the cannon on top of the rod. And then you just bring the line up, put it under the cannon, press your thumb down, that locks the line in place. So when you cast and release, it's just like using a multiplier, which I used for 40 years. I've been on fixed balls for about a decade now. It works really well. The lines have got to do a bit of to get to our first dive. It's not an issue. It just goes in it, and it really works. So try that. I'd only got mine taped on, top of the rod instead of below. But Canon's a much cleaner release. I recommend anyone to try Canon rather than the finger style.
I think I should use a Canon. I don't, but the only reason is I've got very good timing, so I could use a Canon just like that. The reason I don't is because I like to feel when it's going to go. But I would recommend, if you're learning, not to go straight into a Canon because it's timing.
There is a timing.
If you get your timing wrong, you've had it. And I'll tell you what, so many people, and I've got rid of that Canon for them, and they're okay. But if you've got good timing like Trevor, not being beard, but I've done it for years, so I've got good timing. But I don't use one. And I have heard, I don't pendulum anymore, but I've heard when you pendulum, it can come out of the Canon, and some people put it in twice. I don't know if
Brett,
that isn't true.
Brett
Which I
just
find
used
a
the
bit,
Canon, and he
I find
wrapped
a
it
bit
twice.
weird putting it through twice.
That's okay. You
But
just
that's
go around.
it's easy enough, because you don't want it to slip, because you can kill someone.
And it's good to, when you wind, have the bail arm back more, and then you get a right angle to the Canon.
Yeah, that's right.
If you've got the bail arm forward, then you can get a bit of an angle from the,
and it will slip off.
It can slip on. That's still to wrap it around twice. You know. It's important where you put it on. The further it goes back on top of the rod, the further it goes back, the less chance you've got of line slip, it coming off the cone.
Yeah, I mean, if it's at 90 degrees to the spool, it can't slip, can it? Because it's holding on the spool.
That's right.
Sorry to butt in. I also use a braided leader. It's very thin. And I wonder whether with the Canon, because it's a braided leader and it's thin, it could slip through maybe. I don't know, I've never tried it. I just use a finger stool, and that's what I use, you know.
Well, it can't slip through unless your drag
Why
isn't
do you
set
think it's
correctly.
slipping then when you come
Well,
around?
because people haven't got it set up correct. So I mean, in my view, let's see if we can do this and see if it's on the camera. So if you imagine, if the casting Canon is here, where my finger is, the line is coming off the spool at 90 degrees and then going off towards the rod tip. So it can't slip unless this turns.
Well, it does. What I was trying to say.
But I think some people have it too.
I've known them slip out.
Yeah.
They say it slips
Well,
out.
it slips out, but I
Just occasionally, then you reckon?
No, you set it up right.
yeah, it's the same as holding it on your finger. Yeah, if you're holding your finger on your finger,
If it's because it's not set up right, you reckon it slips?
it's in the wrong place. I think. I think it's maybe too far forward, so it's maybe here. So the line's coming off at an angle, and yes, it could slip off. Yeah, but if it's at 90 degrees to the spool, I'm not on camera anymore. So if it's at 90 degrees to the spool, it can't slip off, in my view. But there's a lot of top anglers would disagree with me.
I only listen to what the lads say, you know. But Canon's great. I should sell a lot more, but I give Peter a finger store every time. Because I do know a lot of my anglers who come here, not being detrimental, but they might not have great timing. And timing is a big issue with it. I know it is.
The carp angling fraternity, they don't touch cannons.
Yeah.
They all use finger steel. And they are casting a long way now with their pit reels, you know. So
Just for people that don't know what we're talking about, there's a casting can if you wanted to show it to.
Oh, and also people, Trevor talked you through this better. I know, but he'll tell you exactly, right? They don't put them on like this. They'll take this bit off here. Trevor might be best to show because you'll know exactly. There's certain things you take off to make it better. And one of them's that gets in the way. You want a flat surface, don't you?
When it's on the top of the rod, and then you're trying to do that, there's a bit of a hook there. It's not very comfortable. Ideally, it should be made flat, which of course it's not. So what I do is I get a lighter and I slowly soften it, and then straighten it out. And once it's straightened out, I get a piece of wire, a bit of just stainless steel wire, and I heat that on the lighter, and I put 3 or 4 mini ribs.
Okay. That's a good idea.
So then you've got a flat one, and you've also got grip as well.
Yeah.
So when it's raining hard and you've got slimy baits on, and you'll put in a 7-ounce weight round, it all stays together. It doesn't slip off.
It does feel weird with that hook on it.
Yeah,
so
that's designed to go underneath the hook.
Yeah.
Of course, you know.
So if it's, and make sure I'm in the camera. If this is on the rod, so the rod's sitting here, the Canon is attached to the rod. Whoops. The Canon is attached there on the rod, and the line comes up and goes around that little capstan, and you by pulling on the trigger there, it holds the line tight against the capstan, and when you let go, it just flies off that capstan. Yeah, I mean we'll do a video on it in a little bit more detail.
Marvellous thing though. Whoever's invented it, breakaway again, I expect.
Yeah.
Not Nigel Forrest on this one, I don't think, but breakaway, isn't it?
In South Africa, they use Canon. They called it with another name, the bionic finger. Bionic finger. Now in South Africa, I was there 5 years ago. It's all fixed spool now.
Yeah.
The 4.0 and 5.0 10 centimetres, that's all gone. It's braid, it's fixable. Now they're using big rods and big baits. So you're using fist-sized baits, half a mullet sort of touch, you know. Now they've got the reel down. When you've got the reel down, obviously you've got more control over a big weight and a big bait. They have a cannon, but they don't have it on the top of the rod. It's just impractical. They have it under the rod, but they don't have it by the reel itself. They have it 45-degree angle. It sounds all a bit weird, but when you hold the rod, and I did, and the reel's there, the cannon's slightly on a funny angle. So either that side of the reel, this side of the reel. But they all use a cannon. And they will go around 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Because they've got a lot of prep, big weight, big bait, and they're huge blokes. They weigh out up to here, smash it out about 150 yards. You've got to see it to believe it, you know. But they use cannons.
Okay.
And
this wrapping it around to us, you say you do it. I know Brett Green does it. I know Nathan's.
I'm just saying what they do, you know, just to let you know if you did have a slip on it.
Nathan from Slippy Limpets, he does it as well. So I do know there's quite a few people do that. I have the intention, full intention of putting a cannon on top of the rod because I want to get over. I've had a go with it.
Tape it on. Try it a few times. If it don't work for you, you know, everyone's different. It might not be your fit, but it's worth a go. You know.
Certainly couldn't be happy without that finger stall, though, me.
No.
I nearly had a heart attack because I carried 2. One match down there, I was in Bexhill a few years ago, and it was like a horror show. I thought, my God, what am I going to do? It was literally, what am I going to do? And Terry Taylor lent me one. Thank God.
Especially on a braid leader.
You can't.
It braids so thin, it's like,
you
like
cut
a
your
cheese
finger
ball.
off.
I watched Brian Pask doing a casting lesson, and his student didn't have one. The guy took the pad of his finger off with it.
But Kerry Saint came to our casting 2 years ago, and he wanted to chuck this rod, and I said, well, you want to think, nah, I'll be all right. Bang. Nearly sliced his finger off. He was bleeding off. Like you can't believe, you know.
And that kind of ruins your fishing, which you
You two don't want that to happen. No. Because of the rays and that, they catch it out. A lot of people release their drag on their fixed spool, which is fine because if you get a good fish on the line to go out, smooth downs, rays and stuff. But of course, it's not difficult to forget to put it back tight again before you cast. You know.
That's I can't believe it, and you know, like I'm slapdash. I'm so methodical. I loosen it off now, my drag, because it's braided leader and braided line, and I loosen it right off. I think I told you, and I let it go, and then I might just start tightening up once I know it's really got on there. But do you know what? I've never done that. Poor little Gerald. It started doing it, and he just forgets. And then when you go, if you've got that drag undone, that's lethal.
Been there, done that.
But it's easy done. But I've been. For me, I'm amazingly methodical. I think do the drag up, reel it in. And it's almost built in now, so I'm pretty good. You know. Probably go Sunday and cut my finger off a bit.
Right, another question for you. Right, so from the Sweet Corn Kid. My rigs tend to come unclipped mid-cast. Could that be due to the rigs being tied incorrectly, or perhaps my casting style?
Sometimes people tie up clip rigs on to find a monofill. They use a 50 pound or 40 pound, and on the rig body. So from the connection swivel to the lead weight, and what that does, it stretches quite a bit. So on the impact of the cast, the thing stretches 2 or 3 inches. Time it's halfway out, of course, the snoods become limp, and they can disconnect. So it's better to use a minimum of 60 pounds to reduce the stretch. A lot of anglers are using 70 and 80. And also on the very top connection, a lot of anglers put in an SRT spring or similar. And so when you cast, instead of the snood stretching, becoming limp and unclipping in the air, that they stay.
So the spring takes up tension.
Must have a spring.
It does work.
You know.
And you don't. I mean, I've seen quite a few. Joe, in for instance, he cuts those springs in half, so they're only about sort of 3/4 of an inch long.
Especially on the top one, that's a must.
Make a real difference.
The other thing that happens quite a lot, just before you move on, is if you're using a dropper and you've got the second hook and the third hook, make sure that lugworm on that second one is away from the shank bit, because a lot of people clip it and the lug gets wrapped round and it comes in, and them two are together, and they come off, but then they're stuck like that. And it does happen quite a lot. So you should keep an eye. Make sure that's totally clear. That bit, that hook on that second hook,
a clean hook onto
so when you clip onto the third hook, there's no way that lug can get underneath, and it just nicks into it.
It's just fine tuning your rigs. A lot of people use stop knots either side of the bead and swivel with power gun, and that's good because you don't have to use a crimp. But they do slide a bit. You want two of those on really. A lot of people use crimps now. Some people use crimps sort of semi-tight, but just about move them to fine tune. If you lose a hook, you want to put a new Snood on, you know. Casting style, yeah. Sweet corn kid, yeah. If he's doing something jerky, obviously that creates a bit of a rattle. A smooth cast is always better, you know. A little swing and then it goes off nicely. You know?
I mean, and it could just be that one hook, if you're say doing a free hook flapper or free hook clip down, it's one of them that is coming off, and if, once that comes off, the other two will come
the others
off.
go as well. Of course
Yeah.
they do,
It happens quite to a lot
Yeah.
of us. It does.
Yeah.
It's just it goes flying out. You think, oh my god! And you watch it, and if it's gone 20 yards or 50, 10 yards less.
But then you have
it's come off
confidence
the
that it's
clip.
not stayed clipped up once it's under the water,
Yeah,
which
but
is
you-
always good. Then you think,
yeah.
well, maybe we lost the bait.
Well, it's not good having it flying out there and all coming off.
Yeah.
I've seen it and I thought, oh no, it's gone about 10 yards less. And you think, why did it do that? Why did it do that? You know, just occasionally, it's probably the same thing where you might snatch the cast as well or do something wrong that you don't realise, you know.
The type of clips matter. We used, before breakaway cascades came out, we used to make a bit of velvet rubber, maybe a bit of paper clip, but they weren't as good as the, you know, properly made stuff. So
They did get caught on there sometimes.
Sweet corn kid maybe did doing a DIY clip, I don't know. Buy some breakaway, you know, clips. They're very good.
And to be honest, the
the Ben Arnold ones.
the Ben Arnold ones, the Arnold,
nice.
Arnold
The Ben
hooks
Arnold
ones.
ones are stainless, I believe.
Yeah,
so
they're stainless.
Slightly
pretty
smaller
good.
than
Yeah,
the-
I've got them all in stock, and I've also got the
Yeah.
breakaway ones.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Fantastic idea, you know, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Everything's been a revelation lately in angling it. You can almost be the instant angler now, whereas, you know, 20 years ago you had to work at it.
Or messing
Now,
around with bits of
you can
telephone
come in here,
wire and
all right, it might cost
Yeah.
you a few bob, but you can become good overnight
You can.
if you're half
Yeah.
talented. Do you know what I mean?
right. Here's a question for you, Tone.
You know?
Very contentious question. This is from Philip Lee. Any secret pegs left for the Xmas non-open match?
Well, the idea is, Phil, you've got to book in, you clown, because the two people that didn't get in are in. So you only had to put your name down, that's all.
Yeah.
And don't get your idea because it's a memorial match and it's for local people, really. But I'm not squeezing other people out. We've only got a limited amount of pegs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's for How Friends Memorial, really. But we've just basically, we can't have more pegs because we don't want a massive match. And at the end of the day, Phil, you're quite welcome to go in. But just put your name as first reserve, and I think you'll get in.
Yeah.
I expect you're fishing in Hastings anyway. Ta-da.
I think it was sort of kept localised. Tony's thinking was because Foggy was a local angler, and on the match itself, there's going to be members of his family fishing, there'll be non-match anglers fishing, and obviously the West Sussex guys, and they're brilliant anglers, and I think Tony wanted to just give the opportunity for a local contingency to sort of be there. There'll be a celebration afterwards, again the local Foggy's family.
Yeah, and I
will be
think
there.
his wife's coming, I believe, and the family, and it's a family. It is really an invitation. Perhaps I should have put it like that.
It did become a bit Eastbourne.
You know, but we're quite happy to. You know, they're quite happy to come instead of moaning on Facebook. Joe Wells put his name down. Colin Carey put his name down. They're both in. You know, and we just had to get a nucleus of locals first to see how it was going, and some of them probably won't make it. So, you know, we're quite happy. We just didn't want to go over, you know, about 56 really, because two zones, one at Langley and one at the Angling Club, and it gets a bit messy then. It gets a bit too far, and people get rough pegs, you know.
And
so,
a poor old bloke with a camera is trying to film it. It's got
Yeah, you
awful
know.
bleeding miles.
but it's certainly we got no qualms. Just, you know, normally we post them up. This one I tried to get. You know, I was saying to people locally, if you want to get in it, tell me now because it's going to fill up. That's all I can do, really. You know.
Right, Andy Tilsley, and this I'll aim this one to Trevor. Who was your biggest idol when you were competitive fishing?
Andy, I suppose a lot of people are similar minded to me. Alan Yates, I guess, was top of the tree. Back in the 70s, 80s and 90s, Alan, probably the best all-round match angler that I've ever known, and I know him quite well. People can cast further, people can night fish quicker than whatever, but overall he could do a bit of everything. You know, he could catch mullet, he can catch garfish, he can catch codlin at deal, he can catch garfish on aces. He could do it all. So probably the match angler I most admire is probably Alan Yates, actually.
He was the master, wasn't he?
There's others. Sadly, we lost Ian Golds, Portsmouth angler, 3 or 4 years ago now. Great guy, absolutely fabulous guy. I knew him very well, travelled with him quite a few times.
Where was he based? Southampton, was he?
He
or-
was actually based near Portsmouth.
Portsmouth,
He
right.
lived in Scratchface Lane,
Yeah.
Bedhampton,
Yeah.
near Hayling Island, near Portsmouth. I know
Right,
that.
yeah.
But he was probably a brilliant match angler,
Yeah.
of course, and undoubtedly the most innovative angler I've ever known in my life. You know,
There's still quite a lot of Ian Gold tackle around, isn't there?
rod rests,
Yeah.
and he came up with measures and boards and all sorts, didn't he? And he came up with probably the most successful thing of all.
Very innovative.
Yeah.
Rod rest probably number one, but number two is the igloo. That's
Oh,
Ian
yeah.
Gold's
Yeah.
design, and the big glue, a bigger version
Yeah,
of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
You know, Ian Gold's he came up with all that. He used to make them in his own little factory. You know. I think Dyer have taken over now, but it's still
Amazing angler.
Yeah.
brilliant.
But
angler, yeah.
I think all round, like Trevor said, Alan's number one. He was number one.
Where was it?
He was
What's
very,
Alan
very
Yates'
hard to
story? Where is it? Where was he based? Is he still?
Sorry,
He's in
Alan,
Kent.
he's in Deal.
Yeah,
Is he
now.
still around?
He was in Folkestone. He's moved to Deal.
he's been in Deal for quite a
But
few years.
his son Richard's a great angler.
Yeah.
He's fished for England and everything.
Alan
But
was-
Alan was like the master, really.
Right.
He lived and breathed it, and he was great. You know, I mean, you kind of got next to Alan Yates in the old days, and you'd end up with two pegs because you think I'm not next to him. You try and get away from him, think make out I'm not next to him, so you give him a big gap, which is great for him straight away.
He was fiercely
He really
competitive,
was good, you
but
know.
it was nothing he wouldn't tell you. And I asked his advice several occasions, and he's totally open and friendly and helpful. You know, top
Never
guy.
won the Gambia, though, Al, if you're listening. That's one of our funny things, because he was desperate to win the Gambia, and he just come so close quite a few times, and it's just the way it goes. Certain comps, isn't it? You know,
I know Alan's 10 years.
and there was
older
only
than me.
100 in it, or 90, or 70s, and less. And
He's 78
But it
now.
was
Still fishes. Does course fishing matches, I think, down in the Kent area. I don't think he does much in the way of sea matches.
Maybe we should try and get him in on one of these Q&As.
Well,
someone said that yesterday. Can you get Alan on it? And I haven't spoken to Alan for a while, but I'd love him to come on. It'd be great, you know, because he's a good friend of mine anyway. Stayed at my house, and we've been all over the place
Yeah.
together.
So guys and gals, if you want Alan
He's
to
a
come on
great,
here,
he's
leave
a
us a
great
comment.
character as well.
Yeah.
You know, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
we had some great laughs with him.
Yeah. Right. So Kayak Angler UK. Trevor, are you still like a kid at Christmas when you were getting new tackle?
I don't get much new tackle now. I've got a garage full of the blooming stuff, you know. Yeah, you get excited when you get a new rod. I had a couple of new rods a couple of years ago from Tony, a couple of Achios Power
Air powers.
yeah. And that's my most recent two rod purchases. I've had a couple of Shimano fixed balls over the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, it's great. You unbox them and you load them up, you nip over the beach, have a little play with them. So, kid at Christmas, yeah, possibly.
Right, Paul Fryer, evening fellas. Do you use stop knots on the snoods of flapping rigs? On a flapper rather than a clip down.
On the snoods.
Yeah.
Don't need to.
Because the
but you should.
worm goes the other way, doesn't it,
Yeah,
on a
but you still
cast?
should. It's not a bad thing to put a couple of stop knots on there, or you know,
Some do, yeah.
yeah, but
For sheer
you
simplicity.
could get away without it.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, Tony.
no, you carry on because you know more
Well,
about rigs than me.
Generally speaking, it's not a fish about. You don't need
Yeah.
to. You can have an ordinary snood with a hook on the end, and you're fishing at speed. You're fishing for whiting at the moment. If the sea's dirty or lumpy, you're fishing for dogfish. And the simple rig, my favourite rig is a flapping rig. It's either 3 up or 2 up, 1 down. If it's a 2 up match, 1 up, 1 down, or 2 up. And it's so simple. You just put your bait on. You can put your bit of fish on the end. You haven't got to cotton it. You haven't got to clip it down. You don't need much above it really. And then just keep it simple. Chuck it out, and you'll get fish all day long. It's when you cast it, obviously the bait's being pushed onto the hook, sinks to the bottom, it's on the hook. You're not going to lose many fish. I know some people do put a stop knot and bunch it together, keep it compact, but generally speaking, speed fishing after dark and flapping rigs, I don't need it. It's not a big deal. You know.
Right, Adam Williams. Tony, will you be running any under 18s matches?
We would like to do a match for youngsters, you know, but you're also welcome to come in it. It's under 18, isn't it? I was going to say, welcome to coming in our matches if you're under 16 and you don't pay. And we've all agreed that if you was to win the whole match, you know, if you want to come with your dad or something like that, and if you win the whole match, we'll give you the money. because we've all said if someone young wins it, then fair play to them. I think we should. You know, it's just unfortunately everything's taking a lot of time, and it's ever so time consuming. You think, oh, we'll do this, we'll do that. I wanted to run a junior match, you know, but it's just getting the time. But in the summer maybe in the summer we get something done, because this time of year it's cold and it's horrible. But maybe in the summer on a nice evening, run a little junior match for sort of 18s and under.
And Brian Pask is a great one for
We'll
junior
always,
fishing.
if someone's in, like, if someone comes in next week's match as a junior with their father, if they win the junior, there will be a prize for them. So we always make sure that if the juniors are in it, but it's very hard to get the juniors there at the moment.
Well, the fact is, there's not very many junior anglers fishing nowadays.
No.
When we was youngsters, it got Saturday, you either played football or went fishing. We went fishing, you know. We played football now and again. There's not many youngsters fishing. There's really not. I guess nowadays it's not really cool to be standing on the end of Eastbourne Pier in the middle of November. You know, they've got so many other things to do. They got cars and laptops and stuff. And I think carp fishing, you still get a few youngsters because it's simple. They go to the lake, they carp camp, and they've got rods out, and they're guaranteed to catch fish. They have a bit of a laugh what they're doing. But the idea of digging lugworms and fishing on piers and wet windy beaches doesn't appeal. Most young anglers seem to be sons of anglers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So if Tony was to run a match for juniors, you'd be hard pushed to get a dozen. Brian Pass, Hastings-based guy, he does good stuff for juniors. Word about Chris Clark, you mentioned heroes. I would say he's a hero, but Chris Clark from Swell down in Hampshire, he's done masses of work for junior anglers on an international level. Under 16s, the youth. He's done it for years and years and years. Don't get paid for it. He was in Holland with them 2 months ago. He's put masses of hours in, lots of efforts, and he's a great communicator with the foreign federations and stuff. So but getting juniors fishing, I'd be great.
Yeah, I think we will in the summer.
And we have got a little nucleus with Liam and Harvey, you know, as starters, and Brian's great contact.
You know, they're all good.
Baby Bean, is he a junior?
And Baby Bean's not. Baby Bean's older actually.
Is he? Yeah. He looks so young. Looks like
Liam come second in the Gary Copeland Memorial last week. He beat a lot of the top Charlies.
Really?
So good luck to him. He had a good pick. It doesn't matter. He done well. He got 9 fish, I believe. And I was looking at it, and he came second overall. Brett won it. Brett Green.
Oh right. So little Liam came second to Brett Green.
Brett had a very big flounder first chuck. I can't remember how many points, but quite a lot. But then he also caught some other fish at the church, which is a good spot, and he won it.
Excellent.
And that was quite a good match. And I should have fished that, I'll be honest with you. I don't seem to get time to get out of here, you know, get enough time lately. I'm always in here and working, but I should have fished that because it's a memorial match again. And there was spare pegs, I believe. You know, so.
Right, well, first, this isn't a question, it's a statement. Talking about heroes. Hi, Trevor. Huge respect. One of the best anglers I've ever met, if not the best. That's from David Checksfield. We're just talking about David's son, Liam, so there you go. Right, Stu de Brew Morgan. Stu, you need to come out fishing with me, mate. I remember the M Squad match team back in the 80s. Asked Trevor why they were so good. All good mates, I believe.
Well, from the time that SAMP was formed, 1980, Conoplex ran the league, and it was super successful, up to 30 teams along the Sussex coast. And we went into Kent a few times. And then from 1990 onwards, Ziplex took over the league. And it was fiercely fought, teams of 5. And I think at the first 11 years, I think M Squad won on 7 occasions. You know? So in our county, we were super successful. We didn't travel so well because the Sea League finals tended to be May, June time, crab venues, Silloth and stuff. We won prizes, but we never won it, which was a shame. But yeah, we were super successful. Why did we do so well? I don't know. We all dug our own bait. We could all cast pretty good, you know. Brian Meads was our captain. Brian Mead passed away about 16 or 18 years ago, and he was a very, very good angler in his day, you know. And we were sponsored by Conoplex for a number of years, rods and a bit of money. That was quite nice, you know. Yeah, we seemed to gel as a good squad. We always had trouble with the 5th man for a couple of 3 years, but then we got Keith Erridge in, brilliant local angler and super reliable, always organised, cast miles, always gets his own bait. From that point onwards, we were winning most years, you know. It was happy days, happy days indeed.
Right, Chris Allen, do you ever check barometric pressure before a match, or do you think it affects coarse fishing more than sea fishing, or do you think it's more like an old wives' tale, like moon phase, i.e., new moon, half moon?
No, last Saturday was high pressure, and it was bloody awful, and only 3 weighed in, and I knew it was cold, and it was, you just knew, you know.
Yeah.
You don't check it at home, but you know when it's going to
Yeah.
be scratchy.
Yeah.
And that was terrible. I mean, I went fishing on the Sunday, and I managed to get an envelope, and the reason was, I was so fed up. On Saturday, I actually went home early, I got ready, and my rod never moved. I ended up over the Langham having a coffee with my mate Greg. And I went over there and had a coffee, and I just sat there and thought, I'm not going to catch any. So I left my rod, it was over the road, and I just wasn't going to catch any. And Gerald landed on one, Gerald Sargent. He goes, oh, I did this, I did that, but he landed on a big flounder, and he came second. Dan was on the corner, done marvellous. He caught 3 or 4 fish. And then one guy up the other end caught one little fish, and that was it. And there was 16 of us.
And that was high pressure. High pressure.
It was treacherous. Trevor was there, wasn't he? I wish you.
Yeah,
Because Paul Parsons was next to me and Trevor.
We couldn't buy
Never had a
fish.
bite.
No,
Couldn't buy a fish. But Trevor will tell you that he knows.
Pressure does affect fishing enormously. High pressure, zero wind almost, and you just know you're not going to bag up. Same in coarse fishing, and but you get low pressure, and with a southwesterly blow and a bit of chop on the sea, and you catch more fish. It's like the east wind. I coarse fish and sea fish. East wind catches are often much lower than good southwesterly. It is a fact, high pressure. I don't know how the fish feel it under the surface, under the water. I don't know. I don't feel high
Winds
pressure.
in the west, the fish.
I don't feel low pressure.
Yeah, but their swim bladder's very susceptible to pressure,
it's things
so,
that we
so it
don't
must
we
have.
do understand.
Yeah.
I know a bait digger. Bait digging's affected by pressure. Pressure. I know a very good bait digger, Gary Clark. He lives at Winchelsea. He's dug bait every day for about 25 years, and he's got a barometer in his hall. And if it's more than 1,040 millibars, he's very cautious about going out because he knows he'll be walking across the sand at Winchelsea looking for casts. And when you've got low air pressure and a bit of a chop on the sea, he goes out and it's smothered with casts. So it affects worms as well as fish. Extraordinary, but it does affect. Answer the question. It does affect.
I mean, the problem with matches, the match is set, so it's not set according to the weather. So you just look at your barometer. It's not going to be good today because it's high pressure.
Yeah, the worst thing in the world is a north wind. If you get a north wind, they come in my shop 1/2 hour. It's sort of quite a long time, the north wind. And what happens if it's blowing really hard? It pushes all the sea down from the channel into the English Channel. So it actually fills it up. So it does the opposite of what you think. You think a north wind will push it off miles. It don't go out.
Oh right, okay.
One, it don't go out. Two, it's a north wind, so it's cold, so they don't move. And it's treacherous digging on north wind. I've had them digging 300 lug a tide, and all of a sudden they go down on a northerly wind, and they get about 60.
Really?
It fills up the English Channel and the sea doesn't go out.
Yeah. See, I'd never have thought. I would never have thought that. I would have
No
thought
one ever
the other way
thinks
around.
that. North wind
Logic
is
would say that it's
treacherous.
pushing the sea towards France.
But
it doesn't work.
just fills
Yeah, it's
the
like
channel
it's pushing
up,
water
and
down
it won't
from
go
the
out.
North Sea, which is cold water as well, because the water comes down the North Sea is colder. Yes.
Could you technically look at it and think it's going to push it off further?
No, it doesn't.
Right. Looking good, Rooster. You can guess who this is from. Please tell us the story of your
hopefully.
World Championship experience with the helicopter.
Oh God. Who's asked this one? It's
Joe.
a secret.
Joe Munson.
The World Championships is 4 days,
Right.
and we fished 3 days. This is in Portugal, on the open seashore there. And on the 4th day, there was masses of weed. There was a gale. They put us on this estuary. This estuary wasn't 50 yards long; it was about 3 miles wide. And I was 5 anglers, and I'm in A, B, C, D. I'm in D zone, and Chris Clark's in E zone. So we drop off Ian Gold, Steve Allmark, and Shaky, whoever it was. And I'm walking along with Chris Clark, and I'm going towards my peg in D zone, the 4th zone along. And Chris says, "Crikey," he says, "there's a great big boat about 60 yards out. Oh, it's not in front of one of our pegs." So I gets along there. He said, "Rooster," he said, "it's in front of your peg, mate." And I put my gear down, looked out, and there's a boat 60 yards. World Championships, last day, I'm lying 7th in the world, And I've got this boat in front of me. So the manager, Chris has gone on, he's okay, he's on the end peg. Manager's behind me and he's jumping up and down. I've got to tell you, nothing happened, the boat's there. And 3 hours later, the boat's still there. And I'm fiddling about and I'm fishing this side of the boat. I'm getting a few bits, little bream species. Doing okay, but not great. I want to cast down, I want to cast down. So this boat been there, and all of a sudden I hear this engine rumbling while I'm baiting up, and I thought the boat's going. I looked up, it wasn't going. There's another boat joining it. I've got two boats. Two boats, and this is about an hour to go before the end of the competition. After about a quarter, both boats went off.
Yeah.
I thought, marvellous. I've got about 45 minutes, and it's lovely warm sunshine, and you cast much further. Then I'll get down the water's edge. I went whack one out. So I got down the water's edge, half an hour to go, and I swung around. I whacked it. I thought, marvellous. It's going like a good one. No birdies. And all of a sudden, round from the bay, from the headland, I heard a chunk, 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 chunk. And the sponsorship with the World Championship was a company called Browning. It's a French shotgun company. They do tackle as well. It was a helicopter. The helicopter's got things on the top, but it's also got feet, And the line's up in the air because it's hot and sunny. I've got a lovely car. It's going to go out about 170 yards. Yellow line, I can see it. I can see this helicopter. No, this is not going to happen. This is not going to happen, It did. And the two shoes of the helicopter went under my line. It's just mounted. It's just mounted, So I've got no line. My big cast is wasted. Managed to skim back behind me. He's going in absolutely. That's what happened.
Trevor caught a helicopter.
Caught a helicopter.
Did you weigh it in?
Brilliant. Oh my God.
Oh dear.
Right, David Cobb, what are your preferences for Snood line colours and lengths for coloured or clear water?
Me? Colour? Well, Amnesia has been super popular for about 25 years, which is clear. English fishing, you're fishing at night, you're fishing in dirty seas. Snood colour, it doesn't really matter. There's a bit of a fad about 10 or 12 years ago. People were buying red line.
Some people write red.
Yeah.
And I said, why red? And they said, well, I could think it's a bit of blood coming off the bait or something. And the same people that use in red then have gone back to clear. I've been to 5 World Championships and other competitions on the continent, and you look at what they're using. And over the years, all I see is clear. And these guys are fishing in the med. Where
even down to fluoro now, and it's all clear.
Crystal clear sea, and there's no lateral flow, there's no silt in the water. And they have, over the last 30, 40 years I've travelled abroad, they to go for clear. If you're not sure, go for clear, Fluorocarbon, they're supposed to be visible to fish, I don't know.
It's marvellous when it's very clear and there's no, it's scratching. That fluorocarbon does work.
Yeah, I use fluorocarbon on a boat.
Tony McDonald, I'll tell you what,
he
kept coming over here and he kept doing really well. I thought, what's he doing?
Yeah.
And he put us onto it, and it's only a couple of times. I'd very rarely do it, but just a little. Sometimes in the summer, I get a couple made up with fluoro, and it don't go wrong. It won't let you down.
It's meant to be the same.
He moves the rod now and again. I watched him and he moves the rod. Just move the rod just a little bit, and silly little things like that. But there's a lot of little tricks like
go
that.
clear. It doesn't matter. Generally, I don't think, but if in doubt, go clear.
I mean, fluorocarbon's not as durable as Amnesia, so
no, it's slightly stiffer, slightly thicker.
Yeah.
You don't need it for everyday use, but if you're mullet fishing or you're doing some finesse fishing, maybe fishing for gars and that, it might give you a bit of an advantage. A quick tip on Amnesia: the proven method of pulling into a knot with most monos is to moisten it and slobber on it and pull it down so it cinches down. Don't need to do that with Amnesia.
Okay.
You try it dry. People think, no, it's madness, you're going to burn it. Try it dry. It goes much better.
It does.
It's the only line in all the world.
Weird,
it's massively used for snoods.
Exactly.
Oh, right. I've learned something there.
It doesn't need to be moisture. It pulls up. You wouldn't believe it, but it does pull up better.
It's strange.
It's fly tying line originally, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, it's a leader
It's a leader
for fly fishing. Yeah.
So amazing, really.
David Chexfield say, fishing a league match at Dungeness next to Alan, I was missing bites. He told me to sit on your hands and don't take their dinner away. Top bit of advice. And I know that a lot of people. Tony does that as well. He doesn't strike into fish.
Sit on my hands too long.
Yeah. Right, here's one from Graham Allen. We mostly try and cast out directly in front of us, but I have noticed some anglers casting almost parallel to the beach. Is this due to tide run?
Well, been talking about this week with Dan Wood, and he's a really good angler, Dan. And he was saying to me on Wednesday, he said, these people, Tony, he said, they just cast straight out. And I went, I know. And he went, and they wonder why they don't catch any fish. Primarily from Eastbourne, you'll get a flood tide, and you've got to cast at 2 o'clock, okay? Because the tide will be running to the left, right? That's at low tide. And when it ebbs, that's the one reason I don't pendulum as well now, because I can aim it where I want it. And as soon as the tide ebbs, then you've got to cast at 10 o'clock down there, and it'll come back towards Beachy Head. Different areas, it'll be different. You've got to go into the tide flow. Although me and Trevor one day, Barry, wasn't it? Do you remember? We was fishing one day in a match, and Barry was casting the opposite way, and me and Trevor were there, and he started annihilating us. We were horrified. He just kept catching fish, and Barry Sinden. And me and Trevor looking at each other, what are we doing here? But we caught him up in the end, I believe, didn't we? So. Just about. He was casting the wrong way.
Yeah.
But don't just cast in front here. Yeah. And Trevor, see what Trevor's take on it.
Cast up tide, generally speaking.
Yeah.
If you direct onto the tide, then the tendency is for your line to sort of lift and your bait to come up. But if you're in a boat, you're going to go up tide. You know, same on the beach. If the tide's flowing left to right, then cast at sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock. Let a bit of slack out, and those baited snoods will pretty much lay on the bottom there, which is where most of the fish are going to be. You know, tide runs the other way. As Tony says, you do it. Absolutely important, and everyone does the same. Then you don't get tangles up. No. So if you get one guy chucking up tide and the other one insists on going straight out, there's obviously going to be an issue.
Yeah, you're going to be casting over.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right, guys and girls, we've got 5 minutes left. I'm scrolling through. There are a few questions on here. I'm sorry if I miss your question, but I'm going to skim through so we try and get all the ones that you know, the more valid ones, should we say? No, that's not the right word, maybe. The better questions. Right, could I ask Tony and Trevor if they prefer spigot or overfit joints and why? Thank you. That's from MJ.
You all right? I don't think it matters much. I think the rods that I've used mostly have been spigoted, you know. So you've got the male going into the female at the top section. Does it matter? I've had other rods, coarse fishing, where the other way around. I don't think it matters. Really.
Most of the 3-piece ones push in now.
They do now, don't they?
Yeah, pushing butts. Don't see get any trouble with anyone. Spigots, not so many have got spigots now.
It's kind of old, isn't it?
If you have a look, it's kind of old hat now. A lot of the rods that they push in. The only thing with the manufacturers, they need to sharpen up a little bit, because I've had a few 500-600 quid rods in here, and I've had to stand here and rub them down, and that's laziness, because it's fine on a 100 quid rod if it happens, you get it out the bag, but basically when you got a 600 quid rod, there's one down there in that rack, it's 800 quid, right, and I've got to rub it down tomorrow. It doesn't fit. Right. And it's a beautiful rod. Yeah. But it needs to be, and it's not been out the bag. It's a Colmic 07 Superior, and they're about £800. And the first thing I did, I went to put it together, and it don't fit.
And it'll snap. You'll snap it. You'll go catch an 800 quid rod.
You've got I've
got a £100 one that fits together beautifully down there, and that's 800 quid, and it don't fit together.
I mean, that little
really.
That little pen rod that you broke my arm into buying. That fits beautifully. Yeah. I've never had a rod that fits as well as that, actually.
No, that is bad. You know, I think the manufacturers should take a look at that and say on their more expensive rods, they've got to fit. Yeah. You know, on the cheaper ones, if you have to rub a little bit down, that's fair enough.
They're over allowing for wear almost, you know, and they can wear down eventually. Then you get a graphite paint and just build them up.
You want to be very careful sanding them.
But the worst thing is when you rub them down. My brother-in-law Norman, he had a few beers one day and he got a Ziplex. He rubbed it down. And he ruined it. Yeah. I had to give the guy the money back. It was so embarrassing. Yeah. Had a big knock on it. Yeah. And from that day on, I was an engineer when I was young. Yeah. But I'm telling you now, I'm hopeless at anything like that.
You want the finest wet emery cloth, just stroke it and keep trying it. Yeah. Before you know it, it's loose.
Yeah. Well, I rub all them rods down now, and I'm good at it. I hate it. Yeah. But what happens is you tend to grab it and you start rubbing the end down, the wrong end. And when it finally goes in, it's got this rattle.
Yeah, quite.
Well, what I do is I do it methodically, and I'm good at it. Yeah. But I hate it. It's my worst job in the world. I've got these big black hands, and God, I've got to do that £800 rod tomorrow. It doesn't fit together. It's terrible.
Rods are getting expensive, aren't they? 800 quid.
Yeah. Used to buy a car for that. Though. It really is nice. That.
Buy a house really for that one time.
Yeah.
Right, evening gents. I've never had much luck catching decent plaice on the south coast. What's the best time of year, locations, weather, conditions, etc.?
March. Yeah, February, March. South coast, Sussex, Hampshire, Kent. Right. I'd say February, March, April. Good long tide and the bright sunshine. most fish are adverse to bright sunshine, but Plaice are different. They're sight feeders. Generally daytime. They will feed at night. Tony's noticed this in the matches this year. But generally go daytime, bright sunshine,
Clear
nice
water.
clear sea. Casting is a benefit. If you can get 2 or 3 baits out 120, 30 yards, then you will catch a few more Plaice than the guys that are fishing 50, 60 yards. Lugworm's the #1 bait. But as you go west towards Hampshire, and you then the ragworm.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange. You get the other side of Brighton, ragworm's fantastic.
Yeah.
Catch Plaice here on ragworm, catch Plaice here on squid, catch Plaice here on peeler crab. But #1 bait here is probably lugworm.
But if you think of the number of worms that are in that sand, and they're squirting it out of their tail all day, look, it must stink of lugworms to the fish down here. It must absolutely stink of them.
And probably more natural in you've got the Southampton Water, the Langston Harbour, Chester Harbour. Lots of ragworm down that way, so the fish become preoccupied. That's their main dinner, I suppose.
Yeah, right the way down to Hayling Island and further. Plaice fishing right along this south coast is brilliant. And if you get there, like Trevor said, on a nice long tide, clear water, and you'll catch them.
Daylight, not they're not
Don't
a
have
night
to worry
fish.
about night time. They don't feed at night. But we have noticed just lately, whether they're hungry, they feed at night. And do you know what? I think I said this before. They say there won't be no Plaice here today, and I go, there will be. And I don't know what it is, but the smaller Plaice, you'll get them even when it's rough. And I'm sure they can see a little bit better, or maybe they move a bit more, because you won't get many big ones when it's rough. But you will get these smaller ones quite often. And when the sea's half coloured, I reckon they can either see better, or if not, they're sharper and they're moving about, whereas the big one can't be bothered. I'm not sure. But we caught them at night. We're catching quite a lot at night now. They never caught them at night.
But there's so many there, they're competing for food day or
Full
night.
moon is amazing. If you get a full moon in the clear water, you'll catch them at night like you will in the day. But it's got to be a big full moon so they can basically see, you know.
Right, well, we have come to the end of the hour, and I've come to the bottom of the questions. So I'm sorry, guys, if you've had a question and you haven't asked it, you're going to have to send it as a comment on this video, and I'll ask the guys and I'll reply to the comments on the video. But I'd just like to thank very much to Trevor. I think that was a very good session. Selwyn Innes, have you ever fished in the Caribbean, and what brood would you use? I think he meant.
Caribbean? I've never fished Caribbean. Tony probably has. He's fished everywhere.
I have, but there's a lot of small fish.
Unless
we're talking about marlin territory, you know, I fish Kenya and I was thinking the Caribbean's more West Indies. I fished in the Dominican, but it wasn't prolific. A lot of marlin fishing and that kind of thing, and in Cuba. And I don't think it's quite as good as Kenya and Mauritius and places like that. I have done it. Cuba was terrible. We went to Cuba and we got about 10 boats out, and someone hooked a marlin. He was like a hero, you know. It's just Mexico's good. Mexico, they get a lot of striped marlin. That's good.
I mean, I fished in Belize quite a bit and caught a lot of barracuda in Belize. Right, guys, you're going to keep asking me questions and we'll be here all night again. So that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't done so already, give us a thumbs up. There's 187 people watching. There's only 81 people who have given us a thumbs up. So please do that. If you've got any suggestions of anybody, or if you'd like to come and join one of the lives, let us know. Yeah, we'll do another one. We keep on doing it. We've got Jem Stapleton coming in, but it will be on a Wednesday night because she can't make Thursdays, and that's probably the week after next. Don't know what we're going to do next week because I'm not here, so we might have a break next week. But other than that, thank you very much. Catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
Cheers all.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, the camera's on me at the moment. So thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.